Hi guys, it's Mia. I am your new EvolveYou trainer, and today I'm going to take you through a sneak preview of what a glutes and hamstrings workout is going to look like on my gain program. I've persuaded the EvolveYou team just to give you a little preview of what a glutes and hamstrings workout is going to look like. Throughout my gain program, I focus heavily on progressive overload, so I kind of keep a lot of the movements similar each week, but focus on progressive overload. If you want to sign up to my program, the link is in the description. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this workout, and you can see more on my game program in the EvolveYou app. Okay, so first exercise we have is RDLs on the Smith machine. Throughout my program, you're gonna see the Smith machine a lot, so I just wanna familiarize you with it, give you any tips and tricks that I have with the Smith machine. I know it can be a little bit complicated and daunting to some people, so I'm just gonna try and run through two fundamental exercises that you're gonna see throughout my program a lot. So as I said, starting with RDLs, I'm just gonna quickly set this up right now. This is obviously gonna be different person to person, but it'll just have a latch on the side here that you just wanna clip off. And then, because we're doing RDLs, we want it quite low down, obviously. I'm gonna put some plates on. So I'm gonna start with some 20 kilos, just one 20 kilo on each side. Okay, now I'm gonna just quickly talk you through some form with this. So you want your feet kind of shoulder width apart. You don't want them really wide like this, but you also don't want them too narrow. I personally prefer an overhand and underhand grip with this, but this is personal to everyone. Some people like doing double overhand, but as I said, whatever you prefer. So we're gonna lift the weight up like this, and then you want to keep a neutral spine continuously throughout this movement. You also want to keep your head and your chin down a little bit. I find that this is the best way to connect with my glutes, and also bending the knees throughout the movement is also the best way to connect the glutes instead of the hamstrings. So as you can see, I have quite a big bend in my knee, and then the bar is only going just below my knees. You don't want to have it all the way down here. That is how you're going to start connecting with your hamstrings instead of your glutes. So let's get into it. And up. Contracting the glutes throughout as well, and keeping the bar as close as possible to your legs. And up. Going down on this movement is also really important to keep it nice and slow and controlled. Really try and focus as much as possible on mind to muscle connection in the glutes. Yeah, in my program, you'll see this usually 3 sets, 8 to 10 reps. You want to be going quite a heavy weight. If you're doing around 8 reps, more so 6 to 8 reps, you want to be keeping the weight heavy. You don't want to be taking it light. Keep it nice and heavy. Really push yourself with this exercise. I also forgot to mention that this is a really important exercise to include in your glute workouts. It focuses on lengthening the glutes, so in their lengthened position, and then the next exercise that you're going to go into is hip thrusts, which really focuses on working the glutes in their shortened position. So it's really important to focus on 2 movements that work the glutes in those different positions. So the reason I like to do RDLs on the Smith machine is it just gives me a little bit more stability. With a barbell, you'll find that you need to focus a lot on balance. So I find that doing it on the Smith machine, obviously you can work on progressing weight, focusing on mind to muscle connection as well without having to worry about balance and things like that. So if you haven't tried them on the Smith machine already, make sure you give them a go. Next exercise we're going to go into is Smith machine hip thrusts. Again, I'm doing this on the Smith machine because you don't have to worry about balance, you don't have to worry about stability, and I feel like sometimes with a barbell, the setup honestly just puts most people off. So if you've been putting off hip thrusts for a while because of the setup, honestly try it on the Smith machine. It's so much easier. Obviously you've got the bar off the floor, so you can just quickly load the plates on. Also, a little hack that most people don't know, especially if you're short like me, is I put a little box under my feet here. So especially with the Smith machine, it doesn't go all the way down to the floor. So to maximize range of motion, I like to put a box here, and it means I can just go lower with my glutes. I get a larger range of motion. So you obviously want to have a barbell pad as well. Sometimes this isn't enough for a lot of people too, especially if you're going heavy. So if you feel like you want some extra padding, grab a mat or a jumper or something. This is what I usually do when I go heavy. So you want to have like the bottoms of your shoulder blades on the bench here. Also the bench height is completely personal to every single person. The bench is just flat here for me, but if you're maybe a little bit shorter, you might want to have it on a little bit of a decline. So you want to make sure that you get your positioning right. Just take the barbell back like this, and you want to make sure you have your chin and your head forward and tucked under. and you're just gonna come down and then scoop back up like that. You wanna make sure you have a sturdy hand on the barbell too, and up, always keeping your head forward. Going down and up. And up, keeping that core braced the entire time as well. You also want to contract the glutes throughout. You don't want to overly hyperextend the glutes at the top, so you don't want to be going too far up like this. You want to keep as much movement in your upper body as limited as possible. Nice and slow and controlled, the same as all the movements you're going to be doing. And up. And then just latch the weight back onto the pins. And there you go. So third exercise we're going to be moving into is dumbbell sumo squats. This is a holy grail for me for the glutes. It is again another compound movement. It's kind of working your glutes and your hamstrings in the same exercise. So let me just talk you through my main form pointers. So because this is sumo, you want to have your feet slightly externally rotated. You want a little bit more of a wider stance with this as well. So you don't want to be in like this. And you can also go quite heavy with this movement. I mean, I'm not right now, but you can grab a heavier dumbbell, especially because this is usually programmed at around 2 sets. So it's not as many sets. So you can go a little bit heavier of around 10 reps. So whatever you feel comfortable with. So the way that I grab this, I put one hand there, and they kind of like overlap. So you're going to carefully bring it up with a neutral spine. Getting the weight up just to bring it up to start the movement is just as important as doing the actual exercise. So you're going to carefully bring it up like this. And again, you want to hip hinge in this movement as well to get the maximum glute connection. And you want to lean your body forward a little. Face your head and your chin to the floor. Bring the weight down nice and slow and contract the glutes throughout. And up. You can also get quite a big range of motion with this as well. So you want to go down and back up again, contracting the glutes throughout and up. Make sure you keep your core braced throughout the entire movement as well. And that is the third exercise in the workout. We're now going to move on to our unilateral movement of the workout. All right, next up in the workout, we have our unilateral movement, which is step ups. This is also a holy grail of mine for the glutes and something that I have done for a couple of years now. It's amazing. So I personally prefer to do them on the cables, but you can do these on the Smith machine as well, like with the bar on your back. It just depends what you prefer. You can try both. But I'm going to just talk you through my setup. So you want to have this cable attachment mostly down the way to the bottom. This is on the second one to the bottom, but either one doesn't matter. You don't have to be taking it all the way to the floor, so it doesn't really matter. You also want to be going quite light with the weight on this. Obviously, it's a single leg movement. Single leg movements, you're going to tend to go lighter with the weight as well, obviously due to half the amount of energy you can put into it. So this is the cable attachment that I also use for the step ups. It's obviously really nice, simple to hold on to. So I'm using a bench. The height of whatever bench or box that you use will be personal to your height. As I've mentioned, I'm quite short, so if you are taller, you'll probably want a higher leverage, higher box. So we're going to come onto the bench here, and I'm going to hold on to the cable machine with the opposite hand. This just allows for extra stability, which is also why I prefer doing them on the cable machine as well. So we're going to come down nice and slow. You also want to hinge at the hips here as well. So as you can see, I'm leaning forward a little bit. This allows for maximum glute connection. If you stood up straighter, you're going to start connecting with your quads a little bit more. So you want to keep your chin and your head facing forward, lean your body forward. Also keep a bend in the knee, even when you come all the way to the top. So as you can see, I'm not extending the leg ever. I'm keeping it nice and bent. When you come down as well, you want to put as little pressure on the foot that's going down as possible. You just want to slightly tap it on the floor. You don't want to give yourself any excessive support. You want to be keeping all the work in this leg that's on the bench and in this glute that's on the bench. So let's get into it. And up. Keeping the movement nice and slow, especially on the way down and on the way back up too. Right, so we're going to move on to exercise number 5, which is our isolation exercise of the workout. An isolation movement is one that kind of works less muscles at once, and it isolates one muscle at once basically. And this is obviously going to isolate the hamstrings. This wasn't just a glutes workout, this was glutes and a hamstring, so it's important to not neglect your hamstrings as well as your glutes basically. This is going to be personal to every person, and then also this is a kind of exercise that you want to go quite light with. It's something that I would usually program maybe like 3 sets of 12 reps, so a little bit more volume rather than your compounds, which you will have seen were around 8 reps, so a little bit less. So this is the setup that is obviously good for me, and my height, it will look different for everyone. You want to make sure that your legs are not moving around during the movement. So as you can see here, they're quite sturdy and quite like stuck to the seat. So I'll put it on a quite lightweight, as I said, and then you can hold onto these bits on here just for a little bit more stability. And what you're going to do is you're going to slowly bring the weight down, and you want to feel a nice contraction in your hamstrings. Again, the important thing with this is to take it nice and slow and controlled. Obviously, it's an isolation movement, so you want to put a lot of focus on just the hamstrings and really try and get mind to muscle connection in your hamstrings. So the part of your leg that you want to place onto this bit here, I usually just put like my Achilles on here, so you don't want to have your heel on it and you also don't want to have your calf on it. So just kind of like where your sock is, as you can see there. Not too much leg, not too much foot. It will also just feel comfortable, like just try and do a couple of reps coming down with a certain placement and just see how that feels for you. The negative on this movement is also really important, so that'll be the bit where you're coming back up here like this. Maybe try and count 3 seconds just so that you're taking it nice and slow. So you go 1, 2, 3, and then back down. And there you have it, guys. That is basically a preview of what a glutes and hamstrings workout will look like on my gain program. I just wanted to familiarize you with the glutes and hamstrings days. A lot of them will look very similar to that. If you follow my content, you'll know that I keep things very simple, but I also keep things very same across the board, and I very rarely switch things up. My gain program has now dropped in the app, so if you are wanting to try this workout for yourself and just train with me, then head to the link below and you can try out my new program.